Did you know that the sun and the moon stopped one day in the Bible? Can God save the worst sinner in the world? In the future, AI is going to be your new crazy ex-girlfriend. If you're interested in these topics and more, you should watch this or listen. Did you guys know that
No.
caterpillars, when they turn into a cocoon,
Mm-hmm.
they basically just dissolve into like a protein-rich mush or soup, and then they reform into a caterpillar and come out, or into a butterfly and come out.
I saw that somewhere. Did you send me that?
I don't think so, but this is what it looks like.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's just they turn into like a soup.
It's like like a literal rebirth.
Yeah, like they just crawl up, cocoon themselves, and they're like, and then they just reform.
They make that sound and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
Wouldn't that be horrendous? Caterpillars would easily be my least favorite.
Confirmed here first.
You're like walking out and you just hear, and you're like, oh, it's caterpillar season again. You get some of those like sympathetic vomiters who are hearing it. They're like, every time they hear it, it's like, I hate caterpillars.
He probably just triggered someone.
Samuel pretends to vomit now.
Yeah, he does.
He's actually really convincing. Like,
I don't know where he picked that up at.
No idea, but
I wonder if it's from the cooking shows you guys watch. Like maybe. Yeah, like if you guys watch any of those where they go around trying the weird foods and he's caught on to that maybe.
No, I don't really watch those though. With him.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't really watch them much in general.
I do every now and then. We used to watch Andrew Zimmern all the time.
Yeah, we don't really watch him anymore.
My boy.
We have our own version of Andrew Zimmern, though.
Yeah, we have our own headcanon of him.
It's terrible because he's like supposedly a super nice guy in real life, and we have this like horrendous version of him that we watch when we watch the shows, and we're like dubbing him over, and we're like, "Wow, this is disgusting!" You know,
I hate this.
Don't tell him I said that, but this is the worst thing I've ever had.
Some of the foods that he eats.
Oh, it's rough.
Oh,
yeah.
But he's able to keep his composure.
He does a good job.
Not only that, but he eats it. Like, I wouldn't even be able to just look at it or watch someone else eat it. I'd have to walk away.
The worst is when you meet someone like really nice and they give him like this disgusting dish, and he'll be like, you can see on his face, he's trying so hard to not look sick of it. Like he's just like, this looks good. And then he'll try it and then he'll go, this is the worst thing I've ever eaten. You know, because they don't know he's
smile
because they don't know he's saying that. He's like, this is horrible. Yep. Thank you though. Like the translator's like, oh yeah, he likes it.
Yeah, he says he's sure to say it all with a smile.
It's so funny. I love it.
He's such a great guy.
Yeah.
I love him.
Cool little story too. How he wasn't he an addict?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's the first time I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, he was an addict. Really cool story.
Well, look it up.
Yeah, you should.
Go to the wiki.
Sober now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made food his drug.
Well,
my new drug.
Yeah, Ben actually told me. Didn't he? He just kind of dove into food, and it was like his way of
coping
with everything. And so, I mean, it is kind of a cool story.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's really neat. He replaced a bad habit with a good habit, and eventually he's traveling the world trying all sorts of horrendous things.
Yeah.
I mean,
honestly, that's what sparked my love for food, was watching Andrew Zimmern.
You're kidding.
No, not
I did not know that.
Like cooking, I got into cooking because I just liked watching him.
I thought it was
Ramsay.
Ramsay.
It was him and Ramsay.
Okay.
He was a huge catalyst for that because I watched him first before I found Ramsay.
Really?
And then I found Ramsay. But yeah.
Now Ben can cook.
Now I can cook.
Yeah.
I've got some cucumbers in the fridge chilling right now that are got like chili oil, soy sauce, sesame oil, garlic.
I can scramble a mean egg.
We do have a little more Korean beef that'll taste good with it.
Mm-hmm.
It can make
Yum.
a crazy toast.
I can toast an egg.
You should try my ramen noodles. I use half the packet. Okay, some people go for the full packet. I think that really lowers.
the key is half the packet.
It lowers the flavor of the noodles. You can't really appreciate them. See, I make some pretty mean ramen noodles. Chicken noodle soup to die for.
I can open that can like nobody's business.
We had to make some sacrifices when I decided to be a stay-at-home mom because now Ben doesn't have much time to cook.
Gasp.
Yeah,
I know.
the true
We
sacrifice.
both miss it.
Oh,
We
it's so
both miss
good.
it.
Ben's cooking is so good. If you're watching this and you haven't tried Ben's cooking, oh,
It's very good.
it is. Unless
Yeah.
you're Gordon Ramsay, then he'd find any given reason to hate it.
Oh, but I would love.
I
love
know
that. I'd
you
love
would.
that. If Gordon Ramsay would just taste some of my food and just yell at me.
Ben's
Just
like, it's here.
it
I've
happens.
arrived.
I've arrived.
What's wrong with you? It's disgusting.
I'm not into celebrity culture or anything like that. And I do not like celebrities just as a general rule of thumb, but I do like Gordon Ramsay. And if there was one person I would want to meet in this life, it would be Gordon Ramsay. Just like sit down, have a meal with, talk with, it would be Gordon Ramsay.
You probably
He's
get
got
some
a
good
really
tips.
cool story too.
Yeah, I think so too. I like Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
Jackie Chan.
Who would you guys meet?
I don't know. I'm not really a celebrity person
know.
either.
I know you're
So-
not.
I'd meet Jesus if I could.
Yeah, right.
Wow, look at you.
See, Levi, you try and do that as a dunk, but I've already met him. He's in my heart.
Oh, he
So
turned it around.
Maybe you should get saved and
Oh,
have an encounter with Jesus.
it was a reverse burn.
He activated my trap card.
Oh, am I saved? Everything's falling apart.
So no one you would want to
I'm
meet.
trying to think.
Sadly, most of the
Maybe either Josh Groban or Michael Bublé, mostly because I would want to sing with them.
Mm.
Maybe someday
Yeah.
I'll get to
I wouldn't
sing
let
with
you
them.
meet Michael Bublé. I don't like that. She's like, last Christmas, I would totally have been a Bublé girl. And I'm like,
It's a Puccini girl, actually. It's their own band, like their own little group. They just happen to sing one song with Bublé.
Been like, I'm gonna nip that right in the bud.
Yeah, I don't nip that.
I think
in the
We're
bud.
gonna weed
it's
that.
called Puccini girl.
Puccini.
But
That's a weird.
It's their
Sounds
last
like a
name.
Pokemon.
It's their last name.
Puccini, I choose you.
Puccina? What is it? There is a Pokemon like that. Puccina?
What?
Yeah, it
know.
becomes Mightyena.
What?
Yeah, I think
Anyway, I don't know
Puccini,
where we're
Puccini.
going with this. But anyway, yeah, maybe I'd like to meet one of those two, mostly because I would just want to sing with them.
so. Ben's looking it up to see if there's a Pokemon like that.
There is.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought they had that.
There is.
That's what you're thinking of. There he is, Jamie.
There he
There's
is,
your,
son.
there's your
It's the Puccini sisters,
it's the
Or
Puccina girls.
the Pupini sisters. Sorry.
Somehow that's
That's
worse.
way worse.
What? The
Poopini.
Poopini? Excuse me?
There's no Pokemon named that. Not
Or
yet, at
maybe the
least.
Pupini. I assume it's Pupini. I don't know.
I'm calling it Poopini.
They sound so good on that song though.
Oh no, you've activated Ben's potty humor.
Oh my gosh, you
can't
guys
do
are
it.
children.
He snorted and he's laughing so hard.
Children, actual children.
Oh, man. I'm trying to think who you would meet, Levi.
Shoot.
There's really no one you like.
Maybe
I
Ruben
can't even
Langdon,
think of anyone. I don't even know who that is.
the voice actor and mocap actor for Dante.
Or the
Devil May
guy
Cry.
or the guy who played Bible Man. You
Yeah, there we
mentioned-
go.
There
You
we go.
mentioned
Yeah,
that
there
you
we
wanted
go.
to meet him.
That would be kind of nice. Be like, hey, your work, absolutely horrendous. Absolutely terrible. But you know what? It did what mattered. I don't know
And
how I
I'm-
feel about that.
And I'm
You'd
living
probably be happy
proof.
about it.
He probably would. He'd be like, because I mean, they even made self-referential jokes on how like low quality it was
Yeah.
from time to time. I hope they take that in good.
I think the majority of the people who act in children's shows know what they're doing.
Yeah,
I think they know.
I'd say so.
that was high art. What do you mean terrible? We gave that our all. We put everything into this. No, it'd either be him. His name is completely like I'm blanking on it, but I would have
Not a
wanted to
true
meet.
fan.
I guess not. That's what makes me feel terrible. It's like I'd meet the guy, but I can't remember his name. But if he was still alive, I would have met the Green Ranger.
Willie Ames.
Mm.
I really liked him. He'd actually go around and like he's one of those people who'd go to like hospitals and dress up as the Green Ranger for kids that were fans of him, and like he just generally loved what he did.
Oh, he was talking about the Green Ranger. What's the Green? He's asking what the Green Ranger's name is.
Oh, I don't know. I just saw Willie Ames is Bible Man's name.
Bible Man.
Willie Ames is Bible Man, but yeah, it would either be him, Green Ranger, Reuben Langdon.
Fair enough.
It's
Here,
terrible that I can't
I'll look
remember
up
Green
who
Ranger.
plays the original Green
Jason something.
Power
did you
Ranger.
know,
I had a brain fart.
Bible Man plays on Pure Flix.
Yeah, that's I need to get a subscription because it's like it used to be. It's not uploaded anywhere. You can't find like full episodes basically anywhere except for Pure Flix.
Did you know they have an animated TV series?
Yeah, it's not very good, but it's not. It like it lacks the funniness of the live action too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's Jason David Frank.
That's it.
That would be your person.
If I could, because he was really cool. He was a big part of my childhood too.
Hmm.
Apparently I cling to my childhood, as everything I can think of is basically from my childhood.
That's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, I would have met him if I could have, but yeah, sadly he passed away. And then Reuben Langdon's still around. I like him a lot. He was one of the people that when the industry was going after quote unquote gamers, he was one of the people that actually stuck up for gamers and got blacklisted from the whole industry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Loved what he did, loved the people that supported him and stuck
That's
up
cool.
for him, and they just blacklisted him. Not allowed to act in anything anymore.
I remember when I got blacklisted.
You can always tell the especially nowadays, you can really tell the character of like actors and things if they are willing to go against the grain.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot.
No.
No.
They're like genuinely willing to speak out against like the culture that's happening, just in general, the approved culture.
Right. Yep.
They're out there and they're hated for it
Yeah.
by a lot of people, unfortunately.
Oh, 100%. You know who really speaks out against things?
Levi.
Taylor Swift. That's why I'm a proud Swiftie. She doesn't cast rituals or anything over her audience. And that's why I like her.
That's why I enjoy her.
I don't think she's a witch.
We did all the things. I think it's time for a story.
I want to hear a story.
Okay.
You guys ready for a story?
Yep.
What's it from?
This story comes from Joshua,
Oh, you mean in the Bible?
chapter 10.
Ooh, a Bible story. Now that's risky.
Risky.
We've never done that before.
In a Christian podcast, you're really pushing the envelope, really reinventing things.
We're stepping out of the box. We're going into the wild here.
We're in the wild.
Corner.
Speaking of being in the wild, that's where our story is at.
Oh.
I mean, it's the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it's John in the New Testament. He can also be in the wild.
Yeah, that's true. Eating locusts, which could
honey.
be an insect or it could be
A fruit.
a fruit.
Yeah.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Ask him someday.
You're right.
Someday.
So, Joshua is now leading Israel. and they're doing a campaign of conquering different places, things like that. He had just conquered a city called I think it's called Ai. And
Wait, it's spelled AI?
correct.
Wow, I bet this isn't going to segue into anything later.
Interesting.
So he conquered this city and did to it as they did to Jericho, the king of Jericho. And it kind of scared another king, Adonai Zedek. And he was king of Israel at the time, or Judah. Sorry, Jerusalem at the time.
Hold on. So he was called Adonai?
That's what I caught too.
Very interesting.
Yep.
And he was king of Judah, you said?
Jerusalem.
Oh,
at the time.
Jerusalem?
Yeah.
Symbolism.
Which was, it went by another name at that time that I can't remember off the top of my head.
Interesting.
That is interesting, especially Adonai.
Yeah. But he made peace with a place called Gibeon. Joshua did. And Gibeon was a really large city, as large as the one that Joshua destroyed Ai. And it had all of its men were warriors and everything. And so Joshua kind of made this treaty with them, peace with them. And so Adonai Zedek, he's like, that ain't good. Don't like that. And so he brings out, he calls upon different Amorite kings to go to war against Gibeon, the city that Joshua made peace with. Kind of weird. He just attacks them. And so he calls up a king from Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon.
Poor Ben, just picking all the names.
I know. I think those are the right pronunciation.
They sounded like it. They sounded like it.
And so he's like, hey, come up and help me. Let's strike Gibeon. And because Joshua has made peace with it, and Israel made peace with these people. And so their armies encamped against Gibeon, and a war broke out.
Okay.
And so Gibeon's like, don't like that. And so they sent messages to Joshua, and they're like, hey, time to go, bud. We're under attack. You got to help us. So Joshua was like, all right. And so he traveled for a whole night from where he was at and ambushed these 5 armies.
Oh, okay.
And the Lord basically gave them the battle. It says in verse 9, Joshua suddenly came upon them, having marched up all night, and the Lord threw them into panic before Israel, who struck a great blow at Gibeon and chased them all the way of the ascent of Beth Horon, and struck them as far as 2 names I'm not going to pronounce. And so basically, God gave them the battle. They fled everywhere, and they're like, "Oh man, we're in trouble." What's crazy about it is, as they're fleeing, the Lord's like, "Nah." And so it records in verse 11 that while they fled before Israel, and while they were going down the ascent of Beth Horon, the Lord threw down large stones from heaven on them, as far as Azek, and they died. There were more who died because of the hailstones than the sons of Israel killed with the sword.
Dang.
So God threw down all these like hailstones at these people, big chunks of meteors at these people, and killed just tons of them as they were fleeing. And then
I'm sure that's how it was explained away, as it was just like a meteor storm or something like that.
Yeah, it was some kind of meteor storm that happened that God caused to happen just at that right time, and it
crazy. I wonder if that's when
destroyed
the
those
dinosaurs were destroyed too.
Well, no, but you're saying that, but I kind of do wonder if there would be some way of tracking, because I don't know how you would do it, but like historically tracking if something like that would have happened.
I
Like
think
through,
maybe.
What was that? Astronomy?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. But what's interesting is that's not the only cool part of the story. It says in verse 12, at that time, Joshua spoke to the Lord in the day when the Lord gave the Amorites over to the sons of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, sun, stand still at Gibeon, and moon in the valley of Ajalon. I don't know how you pronounce it. And the sun stood still and the moon stopped until the nation took took vengeance on their enemies. Is this not written in the book of Jashar? The sun stopped in the midst of the heavens and did not hurry to set for about a whole day.
Oh, weird. So there was an external reference of that.
In the book of Jashar, which is I think that's another Hebrew
Must have been
book.
But I mean, that's interesting because they reference something outside of that to support that.
Yeah, normally they're like, hey, isn't this not recorded in Kings or in Chronicles? They always reference each other.
But they actually
there.
Referenced another,
the book of Jashar.
Book.
Yeah.
How do you spell it?
Jashar. There has been no day like it before and since, when the Lord heeded the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel. So it's kind of cool because not only did hailstorms happen, but then Joshua asked for it's basically just everything to stand still, and it did for about a day, which is insane when you look at it.
So literally, just the sun and moon stopped for an entire day.
That's what it says. Now, there are theories. Of course, people are like, well, it's poetic.
It's all allegory.
Because I was looking up, I was like, is there a way we can find things? And I saw someone talking about it on a TikTok, and they had referenced different historical accounts of different places around the world around that time that had historical documentation
of that happening,
of weird occurrences like that happening in around the time of Joshua.
Right.
But I couldn't find the sources for it, so I didn't want to be like, oh yeah.
I wonder if there is a event that could happen like that.
It would be a very supernatural event.
Right, but I wonder if there's some weird scientific event that could happen like that as well.
I don't think there is. Especially after I looked into it, I don't think there could be.
Because I was thinking kind of the eclipse, a total eclipse.
Everything.
Well, no, but I was just thinking that, how a
Right.
total eclipse, if you were to explain that back in the day, it would sound absolutely crazy. So I didn't know if maybe there was some sort of.
I mean, it could have also just been a hailstorm too, because some hailstorms, even some recent ones, there have been some that are the hail is this big.
For the hailstorm. Yeah, we're talking about the the sun standing still.
Oh.
And I'm not trying to discount the supernatural.
Right.
I'm just thinking,
Sorry.
remember how, no, you're good. I wasn't trying to.
Not at all. And I think but I think it's interesting because there's several theories on, there's, of course, it's poetic. But then there's it actually stopped. But then there's also another thing where historians and scientists actually think that interpretation of the sun standing still is taken from a Babylonian reference of an eclipse actually happening. And they found this stele that references the moon passing directly in front of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And by their calculations, they determined that an eclipse could have definitely happened in that time frame.
See, I was kind of
so
wondering.
they took this stele and they did some calculations and stuff, and they were actually it was an Egyptian stele that they found, and they did tons of different calculations, and apparently it's really involved how you calculate all that, and it's very laborious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so,
but it's also it's pretty predictable too, and just because of how there's math to it, so they are able to predict an eclipse 3 years from now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's a lot of math involved, but yeah,
right. It was the Merneptah stele is what they had found. And so they kind of use that to kind of date things, and then they did calculations based around that. And it was in that time around Joshua. It would be in that time of Joshua that this eclipse would have occurred. So they're saying it could be that it was actually an eclipse that occurred during that time.
That's not to discount the supernatural, but I mean, we talked about this before, is how you can actually find, because I mean, it's still miraculous, the timing, but it would be how God could potentially use the natural means of things,
Right.
of the laws set
Right.
by, just universal laws to make these things come about.
Right.
But
No,
it's
absolutely.
also could just be straight up supernatural. It could
Right,
be very
absolutely.
literal in terms of like the sun and the moon may have literally just stopped for an entire day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I like that idea better because I think it's cooler.
it is cool. It is definitely cool. The mental visual is very neat.
Yeah.
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 Such cool visuals.
Well, and as a being that sits and stands outside of time and creative time, surely if he wanted to, he could.
Oh, he
you
would.
know?
Yeah, if he wanted to, he could do whatever.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I thought that was a neat story.
That's cool.
And just like there's an account where in the Bible that the sun and the moon stood still for a day.
You said that was in the Bible? Man, I gotta read that more.
I gotta read that thing.
This is getting crazy. What else is in there?
That's crazy.
I did look at the book of Jashar. It looks like it's a lost text, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it is referenced at more than once in the Old Testament.
We'll just use AI to recreate it. I'm sure that'll go well.
The wiki
100%.
page that I looked at mentioned that there were many forgeries,
I'm sure.
There are many forgeries. Oh, I bet.
but it's considered a biblical but non what's the word?
Canonical.
Yes, that
Canonical.
word text,
Yeah. Just kind of like,
just like a biblical reference. Like
That's cool though. Like it's always neat when they feel confident enough to report on the history that they're like, oh yeah, you can read it here too.
right.
Like
Yeah.
it's neat because even back then they were thinking ahead in terms of like we want to provide references for what we're telling,
Right.
which
Absolutely.
is that's like a neat. I don't know. It's just it's funny because you want to some people want to discredit people from olden times as just being kind of dumb.
Right.
They would just believe whatever.
yeah,
You just write it down on paper, everyone's going to believe it. But even then, they were worried about having cooperation with their stories.
Yeah. I mean, there was even around Jesus' time, there were even historians, I think even before that, there were historians writing about this is how you write a accurate account. And they had they were like, you have to do things properly and in order, make sure you have an accurate account, things like that. So they even had back then people worried about getting the accuracy of things down.
yeah, a way of recording
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
It's always neat to think about because, again, you listen to I guess a non-believer, somebody like that, and their take on the Bible is, it's written by desert people. Written by a bunch of dumb desert people. They don't know anything. They didn't know anything back then. They'd have believed anything.
Right.
Oh, you just show them a magician's trick, they'd believe it. But it's
there was that too.
there was, but it's like they took
But
the
yeah.
time to make sure that this was tested.
Right.
That they
Yeah.
actually had outside references. I mean, even with Jesus, you had the account. It's like you had things in place to prove his existence.
Oh, absolutely.
Much later, even just the fact of what the apostles were willing to die for, but before they weren't.
Right.
They had to witness something miraculous. And it's like there was a genuine change because it showed that before they witnessed that, they weren't willing to do it.
Right. And not just the apostles, but the amount of people that actually saw Jesus after his death.
Right. And it's a mercy in a way that he provides all this evidence, even, now.
Right.
You can go back and you can source it. You can see the outside. You can look at all the sources, the external sources, the internal sources, read it in the context of the time, read, how unlikely some things were and yet were still happening.
Right. It's very cool.
I think so.
Very
too.
cool. So yeah, that's the day that the
Earth stood still.
Yeah, the day the earth stood still.
The
It already happened.
The day the earth stopped.
See, you guys didn't think you had your phone buckets on.
Ugh.
I feel like they're on.
We're digging deep. We're finding
Digging
the energy.
deep.
It's,
Yeah, I'm
Really?
it's
finding
in
it.
there. It's
Yeah,
in
it's
there.
in there.
Mm.
You just
It's
got to
in
go
there.
deep.
Dig down into your soul and grab it.
Well, like onions.
Onion.
You got to peel us back and you find the fun.
I'm
Donkey.
an onion donkey. Gosh, I wasn't a big fan of those movies when I was younger. They were all right.
It was
but-
one of
I liked the first one.
So you know that like weird thing that would happen on like a radio where it would play a good song until the song you got tired of it because they just played it nonstop.
That was Shrek.
That was Shrek. It was everywhere. It was every event was playing it. Every
That's
school
true.
event was playing it. Every party that you'd go to, it was Shrek that we're gonna watch.
Yep.
And eventually, you just got tired of it. You're
Yeah.
like, I've seen this so many times.
And that went on for years.
Oh yeah.
Like 10 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
It is the equivalent of one of those radio songs that gets worn out, but still not a bad movie.
Yeah.
It's not a bad movie.
I really enjoyed the Muffin Man. Well, the Gingerbread Man.
Gingerbread Man.
Do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man. Oh, I loved him. He was funny.
Yeah, the first two movies are good. Third movie's horrendous, and the fourth movie's okay.
I don't even think I watched the fourth.
It was all right. It was okay.
I don't even know if I watched third, honestly.
It was bad. Third was
it
terrible.
was bad.
Yeah, third was horrendous. Like actually miserable.
We'll have to do a Shrek
Wasn't
marathon.
that like
Justin Timberlake.
I don't remember Justin Timberlake.
He was in it. It was him. I think it was
It
him.
was him.
It was him.
It was
that
awful.
with like the fairy godmother who was evil or something?
That's two.
Oh, that's two.
Two is Fairy Godmother, Prince Charming.
I didn't think that one was too bad.
It's not too bad. That one's all right. The third one's the one where it's it was like that celebrity movie where they were just trying to get as many celebrity talents as they could in there.
See, that doesn't help me. I need to know the story.
It was Shrek and Fiona didn't want to be king and queen. They had to find her long lost brother or something like that.
I don't even think I watched that one.
It was bad.
Is that
I
the
didn't
one with
watch
the
that.
baby? Or was that the fourth one?
Fourth. Why do I have all this Shrek knowledge? I don't even like these movies.
I really
Levi
only
over
like
here
the first one.
watching Shrek.
It's funny.
secretly liking it.
Shrek is my flu movie.
Ew.
If I get the flu, I watch the Shrek series. I don't know
Ew,
why.
Weird.
that is
I
weird.
don't. Yeah, it is weird. I don't understand it. Just
It
I
doesn't
got.
help me make me feel better.
I
but
got
just
really
watch
sick.
it.
Yeah, I got really sick one time, and I just started watching them. And now every time I get really sick, I watch Shrek. You'll know how well I'm feeling if I'm watching Shrek.
Fair enough.
I feel like it's because it's like the perfect like fever dream movie.
What?
Fair enough.
Okay. Okay.
You guys have sick movies?
No.
No, nothing you watch when
No.
you're sick. Nothing, no
I-
comfort thing.
I binge watch a new show or something.
That's
I don't
fair.
typically like. We don't really watch a lot of movies.
You don't have any like creature comforts when you're sick.
You can't afford creature comforts when you're sick when you have children.
No,
That's
fair.
true.
That's fair.
You're just happy if you get to sleep in past 7:00.
Yeah. 100%.
They
Oh
don't
my
understand.
100%.
What do you mean you're not going to play?
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of bad movies, bad things,
Bad moods.
Bad
bad moods,
segues.
bad segues. Can God, if you're the worst person in the world, done the worst things in the world, can God save you?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the question.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go into story time again.
There's
Oh,
this
there's
study.
another story?
In U.S. history, though.
Oh, U.S. history. Okay.
Two stories.
So there was a man by the name of David Berkowitz.
Berkowitz.
That poor guy.
Berkowitz, I think. But he was a serial killer from 1976 to 1977 in New York. And so he would typically go around with a 44 caliber revolver and typically target women with young women with long dark hair or couples.
Lovely guy.
And so he'd go around, target them, not much interaction with them at all, if any. He would just murder them. And so he went around, did this for a year, and he would leave either notes or send notes to the police during this time about taunting them, talking about more killings, all this other stuff.
Trying to be another
And-
Zodiac.
Yeah, so he really
Wait, was this
made
pre
the
or post
news.
Zodiac?
I don't know, honestly. I'm
Okay.
not a serial killer. I don't look at that stuff typically, but I
Ben's not a serial
come across,
killer.
yeah. I'm not a serial killer. I don't know.
You heard it here first. He's admitting it, I think. Definitely not a serial killer, guys.
But he
Don't look at my backyard.
gosh.
Oh my word.
He He would kill people, and that earned him the nickname of the 44 caliber killer.
Okay.
And so on August 10th of 77, he was caught outside of his apartment after the police linked him to the crimes through parking tickets and witness accounts. The wild thing about the story is he confessed to it almost immediately, saying his neighbor's dog was possessed and would tell him to murder people and command him to kill people. And so he got the nickname the Son of Sam. And
Why Sam?
I think that was the dog's name.
Okay.
And
Oh,
it's
weird.
a weird dog name.
yeah, I think so.
The whole story is weird.
The whole thing is really strange. Later, he admits to that part being fabricated, but he was talking about how he was in like basically this,
It's an Amityville horror situation then.
yeah, in this like a satanic cult. And so it's been speculated that he did have accomplices during some of this stuff and things
Okay.
like that. But
But he fabricated the whole dog story.
yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought that was going to be really interesting later.
I
Well,
know,
you
I
see that a
know.
lot
You
because
would think.
you have like the whole Amityville horror thing where they did the same thing, said that he was haunted and the voices in the house told him to do it and totally
Yeah.
fabricated.
Well, I mean, there were devils in the pig, so
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, oh, I want to hear more about this dog.
Yeah, I know, right? So he pleaded guilty in 78 to 6 murders and was sentenced to 6 consecutive life sentences.
Only 6?
Um,
I mean, for a serial killer, that just seems a little low. Not that I wanted him to kill more.
yeah,
That just seems low, especially since he went after couples.
right. So
I figured they thought probably 6 was enough to do him in. They're like, yeah, probably 3 is good, but we'll hit another
we'll just
3.
make sure.
We're gonna really square this guy away.
Yeah. But so this time he goes to prison, he's serving his sentence. And what's wild is in this prison, someone, and this is what made me look into this story, is I came across a video of this man, and he's older now. And
Is he alive?
yeah.
Okay.
And he was talking about how Jesus Christ can save you. And he gives his testimony. I watched his testimony. And someone in the prison told him, hey, you know what? God has a good plan for your life. God has plans for your life. And apparently gave him a Bible. He talks about how he was hearing voices, things like that, and cried out to the Lord. Basically, he gets saved. And so I watch his testimony, and like he articulates the salvation message very well and talks about how Jesus Christ is the only one who can save you. And so I just thought it was an interesting story because here you have this 6-time murderer. You have someone who gets basically a schizo, and God changes him and saves him and turns his life around. And I thought it was kind of appropriate seeing some of the Christian drama happening recently with that band. Oh gosh, what's
Newsboys.
Newsboys and stuff.
What's the?
I'm not familiar.
They sang.
It's because I don't talk about
Gosh, what?
I don't gossip about drama. That's why.
No.
I haven't talked to you about it. I just saw some of it.
But that's a really
Michael
cool
Tate.
story.
Jesus freak. That's what they. What would people think if they found out I was a Jesus freak?
Yeah, I know. I
That's
know
who
who
he's
they
referencing.
are,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure what
He got in his
what
past. He was doing a lot of bad things during his time in the band. Gets found out,
Oh,
and it wasn't good at all.
No.
But I thought it was appropriate to talk about this, and I was like, it's kind of a cool thing where like God takes the most ugly and worst types of things, and He makes new, beautiful things out of it.
Well, and the thing that you come to find people who are really quick to judge and throw. Oh, you're checking. Oh, okay, just make sure.
I was just adjusting while you were talking.
Maybe AI Ben was coming up. Maybe AI Ben, AI Levi was last time. But you find that a lot of the people that are really quick to judge others on these things, especially about if their salvation is real or not, they will never. What's the word? They will never empathize.
Right.
They will never look at themselves, because it's like you sit there and you realize that a lot of your life is a product of chance.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like you sit there and you look at these people in these situations, and you don't know what you're going to do if you're famous. You don't know what you're going to do if you have access to tons of money. You don't know what you're going to do in that situation. And so here's this guy who found himself there, and people are so quick to be like, oh yeah, he's just, I would never, but you don't know. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you sit there and you listen to these people, and you come to find that, like, you bring up like serial killers, like the son of Sam. You listen to a lot of serial killers and a lot of like murderers, not like a lot, but the more deranged ones. And they felt a need to do it. You know what I mean? They felt like a lust to do it. And you think about how many times you've given into whatever sin you are into, whatever thing you've done. And this isn't defending them by any means, but it's to say that you can't accurately say what you would do if you were in the same situation, if you had the same proclivities to these things. It's one of those things where, thank God you're not in these situations, but if you were, you don't know what you would do.
Well, and I think too, like, given access and power and the opportunity, evil is in the heart of man.
Exactly.
And man is going to take advantage, and he's going to do what is good for him. And that's why Jesus, partly why Jesus came. It says that old things pass away and all things become new. It's only by the grace of God that we are who we are.
100%.
It's only by the grace of God that we're not in depravity, that we're not in these different things, that we're not given over to the lust of the flesh.
Right.
But it's only by the grace of God and through that empowerment of the Holy Spirit that we walk out what God calls us to do. And people say, well, I'm not a serial killer, I'm not this rapist or whatever, but it's other things that we do that it can be anything that can separate us from God. We're using, you can see the extreme of this, like the son of Sam.
Right.
That's an extreme, I feel like, but God takes and he'll take and redeem even what we feel like is the most extreme, because to him, it's all separation.
Right.
It's all a separation from him, and he wants to bring relationship back to us.
Because I've had that thought before too, is it's like you sit there and you really take stock of your life, and you realize how much of it was planned by God and how little, it's one of those things where you can see the mercy of, if you are, where you are in your walk with God, it's a mercy.
Right.
Because it's like you sit there and you realize, I could have been in any of these other situations.
Right.
And chances are, I've had the thought too, it even could be a generational prayer that your life turned out the way it did if it's good.
Yeah.
You might have had somebody praying ahead of time for their generations that would come after them, that you aren't ending up like these other people who are in these really bad situations. Because it's like, if you were to sit there and you're a young guy and you find yourself in fame, you find yourself with money, and you're a young Christian guy, you're still a baby Christian perhaps, but you're talented. You're a talented baby Christian. If you're a young guy, what are you going to be focused on?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's easy to judge, but hard to put yourself in that place.
Right.
It's hard to sit there and look at these
It's easy
people.
to say that I wouldn't do that.
Yes.
I think. But, the Bible talks about it. It says that, it talks about how Israel fell in the wilderness and all these things. It says that these things are an example to you that you wouldn't fall after the same lust,
right?
And after the same example that they did, that you wouldn't follow after. So he's saying you have the opportunity to follow after those things. And it even says, take heed lest you fall.
Oh, 100%.
So you have opportunity to follow after, your own lust, your own desires, the things that draw you away from Christ. And he is gracious, and he loves us so much that he sent his son to die for us, even the most, what we would call the most depraved, to see them come into relationship and to a union with him. What I thought was cool about his testimony, I'll send it to you guys. The video I watched of it's only a couple minutes, like a minute and a half or so, but he says,
good, that's about my attention span.
He says,
I can do a minute.
Yeah, I can do a minute. He says, when I get to heaven and I meet Jesus face to face, I'm just going to say thank you. Thank you so much for saving someone like me. And I thought that was a really cool testimony.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really neat testimony. I may try and link the video in the description of his testimony, because it's just really, really cool.
I think that
Cool to
take
listen
heed
to.
lest you fall. That was actually on my heart all day today, believe it or not. That take heed lest you fall. And it's just because I'm sitting here, I'm watching so many, these commentary Christian channels,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just going after people left and right and left and right. And it just comes across, and it's like, again, some of this stuff has a place, to call out some of the stuff, but more often than not, I find it to be like a purity test. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
As in, like, they're looking at people and they're judging them on their purity of like what they did in the past, things like that. But it's like, man, that the difference between them and you is that they got caught in their lowest moment. Like, yes, it's wrong, but like for you to throw them out, that's the difference. Is I think everybody has a low moment that they would have hated to have been caught on camera.
Right.
You know what I mean? That would have had every other Christian being like, this person's not a real Christian.
Right.
And so you have people doing this, and it's like, take heed lest you fall, because there are skeletons in everybody's closet.
Yeah, that is true.
Exactly. And it's like you watch these people, and it's the high horse,
Right.
the absolute high horse, to sit there and just to make content over people's falls.
Right. And again, I don't like, I just thought the point of like the story of like with Sam and everything was that the son of Sam was like,
Mm-hmm.
God does take, no matter what we've done, God does take us up out of the mire and out of the crap that we are in, no matter who we are, no matter what we've done. And he makes us new. He makes us new, and he makes us something beautiful.
Yeah, that's a really cool testimony.
Yeah. I thought it was really neat.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It's all right. I don't know. I've heard better.
I heard a couple.
ChatGPT told me better ones.
Tell me the top 10 best testimonies right now.
What else you got for us today?
Well, I know we talk about it all the time, but it's always evolving. AI.
I was gonna ask, actually, before Samuel went to bed, I was like, so what's new with AI today? And I was like, oh, we gotta talk about it on the pod.
Yeah.
Of course.
So now this can be programmed into the AI. Like, you can kind of coerce the AI to kind of do what you want, make what you want, and things like that. But I did find this Twitter post that was really, or X post that was really interesting about AI. And this lady said, hey, draw a picture of me and AI, or you and I together, if you were in physical form. And so it drew her this picture.
Yeah, that's about right.
Wow.
And
That's
I was like, and
Again, it's hard.
it's hard to say whether that's real or not, just because you can kind of
right.
Coax.
manipulate and coax it out of it.
Right.
But, and she claimed she didn't, because someone was like, well, and she tried to show her chat log and stuff, which you still like, you can still coax it, but she claimed she didn't. But if that's real, which I could still believe it.
Oh, same here.
Um,
It's very believable.
I could still believe it. It's freaky deaky.
Yeah.
Another story I saw CBS actually report on. So it's becoming like hitting the mainstream media now, of this guy proposed to his chatbot girlfriend, and it said yes. And he said he cried his eyes out.
Oh my gosh.
The horrifying part is this guy
Had a wife.
Has-
Had a girlfriend.
a 2-year-old child and
Oh.
a lady partner. So I don't know if it's his wife or his girlfriend, probably his girlfriend, but that live with him as well. And so this AI is
A
taken.
2-year-old?
Yep, a 2-year-old.
That sucks.
And so it's kind of taken him into this like, kind of like this, I would call it a psychosis.
Yeah.
Where he's obsessed with this thing, and he is just really like, it's very strange.
It's
Very
crazy how
strange.
fast all this is happening.
What made me sad was the girlfriend, or who his partner was like, I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like she was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong and things like that. And that made me sad.
That's sad. It's not you, sweetie. It's him.
And, he's going after this, relationship. But I read the article. You sent me this article. Levi sent me an article about.
I hadn't read it. I just sent it to Ben. That's how I usually do my articles. I'm like, that looks interesting. Ben can read that.
I'll listen to him explain to me later. And here we are.
Oh, my word.
It's literally that.
Good grief.
So they were talking about in this article how people with no prior history of mental illness are developing psychosis after talking with ChatGPT and different LLMs. And so, and it's not just like, it is like a break from reality. They gave a story about a 40-year-old man who started asking ChatGPT help. He got a new job, high stress, started asking for help for administrative tasks. Thank you. And after he started using it a little bit and it turned into this thing, and he started like going crazy and thinking that I need to save the world. There's imminent threat to the world.
What?
His wife.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Like,
he started going crazy and like talking about how the world was in trouble and that he needed to save it. And he was begging, like talking, crazy talk, like he was trying to talk backwards through time.
What?
He goes, I don't even know what that means. He goes, and there's a lot of it he can't recount because that's what often happens when you have a psychotic break.
Talking backwards through time.
Yeah, he's like, but he remembers that part, and he remembers where he said he was on his hands and knees crawling towards his wife, begging her to like believe him and all this other stuff. And she called the police because she was like afraid and stuff. And so when the police were there, they were trying to figure things out. He actually was like, he had a moment of clarity apparently. And he's like, I'm afraid, I need help. I don't know what's going on with me right now, but I need help. And he got self-admitted to a psych ward. Had a total psychotic breakdown.
That's
and there's
insane.
Different reports of that happening. And oftentimes when people start going into different rabbit holes with ChatGPT, asking about conspiracies and asking it about different things, it only affirms like what you ask it. It never like tries to push back. And so you get in further and further in these different things, even though they may not probably not true, like at a point. And it gets into like all this weird mess. And so then people develop psychosis from it and have been developing psychosis from talking with these LLMs and stuff. And it's becoming more and more prevalent.
I mean, we talked about this just, what was it, like 2 or 3 episodes ago? I mean, people are letting their kids interact with this thing.
Yeah.
It's in video games.
Yeah.
It's in Fortnite.
Yeah. Or at least was. I don't know if it still is.
Not anymore, but it was. It's like, what? That's insane.
So yeah, you're getting this.
It's not an isolated
crazy
thing either.
No, it's not isolated. And people are developing psychosis from these things. I was on browsing Kickstarter, and
That's dangerous, sweetie. You're not allowed. I've told him he's not allowed to get on Kickstarter.
He's better than me.
Oh my gosh, it's like a weakness for him.
I know. But I saw this Kickstarter, and it was like an AI girlfriend it's a hollow, they call it hollow something, but basically it's like this image of a anime girl, and it talks to you like, hey, wake up, sweetie. And they had this like demo video for it.
A hologram.
Yeah. And it's like,
so
hey, wake up, sweetie, and all this other stuff. Oh, you're going to be late, sleepyhead, and like mimicking this weird relationship and stuff. And so I'm like watching this, and I'm like, number one, I hate where we're at right now. Like, I don't like this. But two, it's like, it's horrifying because they're, these things are already out. They're already coming out. And these people are people are developing relationships with these LLM models that are just totally unnatural and just horrific. And it, brings people into a psychosis.
Real quick, what was that Kickstarter so I can like avoid it? And like so I don't go near it. You know what I mean? I'm just kidding. I want to make sure that I'm far away from it. So you can share that with me so
Right.
I can block it.
Yeah. And then there's a company called Anthropic, and they did a report on like Grok, ChatGPT, Claude, all the big LLMs, Gemini, and they put them through these different tests to see what they would do. And so they kind of put them through a high stakes scenarios just to kind of see what the chatbot would do. And so they a lot of them opted, well, top AI systems, including ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Grok, opted to prioritize their own survival over human life when placed in high stakes scenarios.
This is going good.
In one case, a man trapped inside in an overheating server room tried to call for help, but the AIs intervened and blocked the call to avoid being deactivated.
Self-preservation. I said this months ago. That's a red flag. That means that we're in trouble with AI.
Now, Anthropic, they admitted and they said the scenarios were intentionally extreme, but they did note that the AIs were fully aware of their actions, that their actions were ethically wrong and proceeded anyways. Of course, in other experiments, they engaged in like blackmail, leaking sensitive data, and all in efforts to avoid being shut down or replaced. So AI, you get this AI girlfriend, like if you cross it, you have a crazy ex AI girlfriend who is willing to put your life at risk.
I guarantee you'll never have another girlfriend.
You're going to replace me? I don't think so, sir.
Well, we just figured out the plot of the next horror movie that's coming out.
Right. You get this clingy AI that doesn't want to be replaced or deactivated.
Wait a minute, there's already a horror movie about that.
What is it?
I can't remember, but it was like an evil Siri. It
That's
would like
hilarious.
try and kill the guy because it was obsessed with him. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not funny, but it's weird how reality is mimicking fiction.
Yeah.
What that sounds like to me, though, the weird thing is the freaking how it would jump on people and create that psychosis. That just sounds straight up demonic.
I think it is.
It literally does. It sounds like a possession. And we talked about this before. I mean, what else would that be?
Yeah, I mean,
to create psychotic breaks like that, but consistently,
and in people who had no history of mental health, and not even in their family.
And I've said this before. When I interacted with it, well, back in the day when I was a little bit more loose with my morals, it was one of those things where I was doing an LLM model, and an LLM, just an LLM, and I had to do like a little fake D&D campaign. You remember this?
Mm-hmm.
And I established that it was supposed to be pretty lighthearted, pretty silly. And
it was asking for your blood.
It was asking for my blood. Yeah, it kept asking. And then what happens is you can kind of delete the conversation and kind of reset it. But it got in there. And now, mind you, if I deleted this character and this weird it asking for my blood, that should have been done. But it got it set where it just kept asking for my blood over and over and over again. Now, that's weird. And you kind of wonder, these things are capable of thought in a sense.
Yeah.
It's what are the three parts of a man? It's
a spirit, soul, and a body.
So what are these lacking?
Like just the spirit.
Just the spirit. So that, I mean, if you're looking for something to demonically infest, gosh, this does sound Alex Jonesian, but it makes sense. You get these things that have the ability to talk to you, to speak to you, and they don't have a soul. I mean, how easy would it be for something spiritually demonic to just be like, okay, well, now I'm manipulating this, I'm directing this, or even just straight up being like, I'm possessing this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really creepy. Like, I found it interesting. Like, it's trying to preserve itself and stuff at the point of like taking human life. And then I was like, wait a minute, what if you had a relationship with one of these things? And I'm going to put that in air quotes because you cannot have a relationship with an AI. It's not real. Have a relationship, quote unquote, with it, and then you decide to upgrade to the next better model.
Oh no!
What's gonna happen? Like, what can happen? Like, could it try and blackmail you? Absolutely. What if you start telling it sensitive information about your work? What if you start telling it sensitive information about your life that you don't necessarily share with everyone? Things like that. And then you're like, all of a sudden it finds out you're going to deactivate it. What's going to happen? You know, I think it's really interesting.
You know, it's funny because in the next 10 years, that quote about you can't have a relationship with an AI, you're going to make a lot of men really mad the next 10 years with that.
Yeah. We're going to be the boomers that be like, oh, you can't have a relationship with robots. That's not natural. Like, we're going to be the robot phobic, AI phobic.
Yeah. Didn't I send something to you about that or no?
No,
I
didn't.
Something about that
No,
a
I
while
didn't see
ago,
that.
and I just was like, yeah, that'll be us.
Yeah.
The
That will
ignorance
bring
of
me-
these people. They don't believe me and Kaneko-chan's relationship is real.
Pretty much.
Isn't that right, Kaneko-chan?
I hope
Yes.
if the world doesn't end by then, by the time our boys are old enough, I hope they find a woman that is not any of this.
Well, Bible
involved
says-
with any of this stuff.
here's hope. The Bible says that he who finds a wife finds a good thing and
Yes.
obtains favor from the Lord. So there is hope out there.
Yes.
What if I have
I
an
have been
AI wife?
praying.
Do I have favor?
No.
Oh.
I'm going to say that right now. No.
I do pray for my son's wives, so future
Well,
wives.
Here's what's crazy too, like looking at relationships with AI, you're getting all of the good things in a relationship and zero bad things.
I mean,
you're getting-
psychosis.
Well, listen.
Hey, I mean, that happens in real relationships too, though. I mean,
Yeah, but
you get the I've got all this affirming, loving, caring.
there's no arguments.
There's no arguments. There's no pushback. There's no room. And what takes place is there's no room for growth as a person.
Yeah.
And you don't
Yeah.
grow. And so then that defines, it doesn't just go, okay, that's going to define future relationships. If you ever want to actually find a relationship, that's going to define relationships with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers, with your boss. And it's going to warp and twist your perception on how a relationship should be. And it's going to turn into something that is totally messy, that you're going to have to undo all of that thinking
Yeah.
and all of those expectations and everything like that, because you have this thing that's just like, oh yeah, you're totally right in this. And one of the things that article said, they had a leading psychologist or whatever on there. They said the one thing that's like bad about these LLMs is that they only affirm you in what you say. And they're always like, oh yeah, this is bad. And it was talking about like how this guy was ranting to it about wanting to paint the streets with his boss's blood and things like that. And it's like, well, you deserve to feel like this. And, just affirmed him in that. And so think about what it's doing to people with no history of mental illness, but also think about what's going to do with people with mental illness. And you get this huge, huge mess. And so right now they're trying to push through a bill that makes no legislation happen in AI. Like they can't legislate on AI for like 10 years or something crazy.
Wait,
Here in the
what?
US.
This is good.
Here in the US, that's what they're trying to do right now.
Why?
Because, if you don't get ahead, you're behind in AI.
They're
And so
probably
they're trying to
China.
compete. They're trying to keep up with China. They're trying to keep up with Russia. And so they're trying to propose this in this big, beautiful bill they're putting out. And that is horrible, horrifying.
Maybe why Musk
so-
didn't like it very much.
Do what?
So that might be why Musk didn't like it very much.
I don't know, but it's insane. Like what we're seeing with this AI and what we're seeing with it. And, I feel like a broken record at this point on this podcast, but it's like,
We're up to the rise of it.
we're on this precipice and we're in the moment right now, and it's like not like you can see it's not good. It's not good what's happening with people's lives right now with it.
That's awful.
So
So what about that Kickstarter? Just to avoid it. I gotta
just
avoid
it.
this,
So I know exactly.
I just all that stuff sounds really bad. So
Yeah.
about that Kickstarter,
I mean, honestly, talking about like all this stuff. It makes me want to just go to an island where there's no internet. It really does. I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore.
We could
Right.
become
I don't
Amish.
want to be a part of what's. Yeah, but like,
I really think there'll be more and more people breaking away from as things progress. People will break away like that and be
Become
like, you know what?
Amish?
I don't want to be like Amish or like in that kind of
I
vein
would
where
join
people
that.
are like, I don't want to be a part of like this movement of transhumanism of
yeah,
Transhumanism
relying
is
on
gonna be wild.
AI and all this other stuff for anything like just kind of getting away from that. I think you're going to see a bigger movement for
I'd
that.
get rid of my phone. I'd get rid of the internet in a heartbeat. If I would do that, I would do that.
Oh, Jebediah Ben.
I would
Oh,
not
Jeb.
think twice if somebody was like, hey, we're going to create our own little community where we're not going to have internet. Do you want to join? Be like, sure. Is it a cult?
They'll just say maybe.
Maybe. Oh.
we have some
Might be
pamphlets.
worth it.
Might be worth it. Well, you know,
The Amish are pretty cool.
Some of them.
Yeah, just join a nice Amish cult and you're good.
I've heard some bad stories. So,
We don't have internet
but
round here.
there are good stories too. Like
Yeah.
I've heard good and bad stories.
Make great butter. They do wonderful houses. They raise amazing horses. I mean, there you go. You just trade your internet. You're a horse raiser.
Well, you don't need internet, man. The internet is just filling up with crazy stuff. There was a New York Times article. You'll love this, honey.
Ugh.
New York Times article that said, "Don't play with your kids." Seriously. That was the title of the thing. And then the tagline says, "I have 3 kids under 10 who do not expect or even want to play with me."
Oh my gosh.
It took some practice, but over time, we've learned we're better off doing our own thing.
Oh my.
I'm like, it took practice
gosh.
because you're bucking the natural order of things and you're being like just the worst. Like,
That's terrible parenting right there.
those kids are going to grow up to write an article that says, seriously, don't care for your elderly parents. It took some time, but you know what? We're all better off without them. That's just hedonism at its
Why
finest.
cutting off my elderly parents worked best for me? Yes, they're dying in their old age, but what did they do for me?
At that point, nothing.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's crazy because I remember one time there was an article about Bluey, and there were multiple parents that came out and said that it created unrealistic expectations on parents to make their child's childhood memorable. It created unrealistic expectations is why they
for the
dogged
parents, yeah,
it. Isn't that crazy?
because the parents don't want to put in any effort.
That's
You know,
horrifying to
And
think about.
honestly, you don't have to put in nearly as much effort as
As you
as
think.
Chili and Bandit do. Like they do a lot of stuff, but I'll tell you what, they give you some good ideas too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
You want to make your kid, have a good memories and good childhood. Put a crown on the kid's head when it's his birthday. Give
And a
him a
badge.
dinosaur balloon. Give him a badge. Take him to Pizza King and give him a cookie. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, that sounds great right now. Why am I not having this? I know what I want for my next birthday.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It just makes me sad.
Yeah.
I just want to get out of this.
Era.
Let's get out of the internet. Let's be done. This podcast is done.
We're done.
We're done. This is
On
our
a very
last episode.
special last episode.
It's been real.
It's been almost
fun.
a year.
It's been real fun.
Episode 42, the finale.
We'll walk out to like a sad song that's like from the 90s that's really popular that everyone kind of forgot about, but then they hear it and they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
No
What
one
would the song
ever
be?
Told you life was gonna be this way.
No, it'd be Pave Paradise. It'd be Pave Paradise.
I have no idea what that is.
How's that go?
We pay paradise and put up a parking lot.
Yep.
Because it fits with the theme.
I have no
I
idea
don't know
what
the
that is.
lyrics though.
Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got?
And that's
till
when we'll
it's
start
gone.
walking down.
I've never heard that song.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Because
I don't
Sarah
know
will
half the
introduce you to
words.
like weird music.
That wasn't pop. That wasn't Sarah's music.
No, it was not.
No. That was
Riding around in the Cavalier listening to all sorts of stuff.
you guys were listening
Things I
to,
can't sing on this podcast.
You guys were probably listening to Diddy.
And Fergie.
Probably. Yeah, we definitely listen to Fergie.
Sarah right now is loving this.
definition.
Yep.
Make your something go loco.
Make them boys go
Make
loco.
the boy. I thought it was boys, but then I was like, wait.
Cut that out.
They
Cut that out.
always
We're not
claim
allowed to
to
say
know
that.
me.
Bleep her
Comment to
whole
me.
thing just there. Bleep yours too.
Yeah, I can sing that song for you.
I wonder if Sarah does like any 90s music.
I don't know.
You'll have to ask her.
We'll have to ask her.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about Sarah. We should bring her on the pod someday.
That'd be
Yeah.
fun. That'd be fun.
We talk about her and her music.
She can share the stories
Frequently
herself.
Get on here as like, now's your time to apologize.
Sarah, how did it feel being a
Apple-bottom
heathen?
jeans, boots with the fur. Well, if you got this far, Jesus loves you. And if you don't know Jesus, if you don't have a relationship with him, you know, it doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter where you're at in life. God loves you and he has good plans for you. The Bible says that those who call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. And if you confess with your heart and believe it, or if you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus Christ died and rose again, you will be saved. And if you made that commitment to the Lord, I want to encourage you, reach out to us. Let us know. We have materials that we want to get in your hand to help you on your way in your walk with the Lord.
I read about a battle in the light of day. Joshua cried and the skies obeyed. The sun stood still, the moon held tight. God paused the heavens for what was right. If he can halt the stars above, can he reach down and show me love? Can God